another one I want to talk about. Some of you may think that when we're off-grid we sort of, it isn't much different from just how they used to live in the olden days, or how my great-grandparents used to live. There's a book here, it's a magazine actually, that my mum used to get, my father used to read, and sometimes he'd just sort of shake his head and say, "Oh, look, they've found something new, these greenies here." And he said, "Yeah, all they're doing is just living like my grandparents, and I think they're onto something new." You should have a bit of a chuckle. But in regards to do we live as they did in the past, well, you can. What I've recognised about what I've been told by relatives, such as my own grandparents and that, there was a lot of stuff that was kerosene based. You had kerosene lamps, you had kerosene fridges, you had a whole stack of stuff that was based on kerosene or candles, which is paraffin wax, and they used to basically use a lot of fuels and wood, and everything was just sort of based on fuels of a kind, whether it's paraffin wax, kerosene, methylated spirits, or wood or coal. And that was how they used to live back then, and it's doable. But times have changed. We have the massive advancement called solar panels. We also have one that many people don't realise how big an advancement it is, and that is LED lights. These are very, very efficient, which means all of a sudden you've got plenty more power left in your solar panels for spending most of your night on YouTube. There's sort of advancements in technology that have occurred since then. Solar panels being the big one. LED lights is another one that's probably people don't realise how efficient and how much of a jump in lighting technology they are. And the other one that's a real big one, I reckon, that's very easy to come by nowadays but didn't exist back then, is propane or LPG. That's a ripper, That's, for those of you who do have wood-operated devices, you'll know it's a few minutes of playing around to fire the wood-operated device up. I know from my heater, I know from my stove, but then when I go to my propane stove, it's just light a match, turn it on, woof, and we're going. Whereas with the wood one, you got to, put your paper in and play around with your sticks and boom, 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 and then light it up, and then then you got to wait for the hot plate to warm up and blah, blah, blah. It, is not as fast as a rocket stove because it has a big thick hot plate that's half an inch when it should be like about a quarter of an inch, but the original one had been lost, so I had to make my own, and that's all the steel I had at the time. But yeah, there's sort of aspects of it that are similar to the old times, rainwater catchment, things like that. But you got to realise that we've had a huge jump in technology since 1800 and whatever. It's not all based on everything needing some sort of a fuel, everything needing a match to do anything. To get lights, you had to use a match, whether it was kerosene lamp or candles. Even your fridge needed a match to get that going, because there's no such thing as piezo ignition. And as I said, everything was fuel based, so you got to light it. And matches were one thing that was big in use. Well, you can still live that way. It doesn't need to be that hard. It's a lot easier. Just purely out of technology that's now available.